Hello everyone, and welcome to Clay Formations. Where does inspiration come from? Well, mine mostly comes from Pinterest, and in my search for inspiration I came across these beautiful fish that seem to be defying gravity and swimming above the water. And this little Disney beauty right here. Can I combine the two? Let's find out. First we'll start with the base. I'll take 2 discs of wood, put on my rubber glove. Then we'll take some glue, put it on one side, and then we'll sandwich the 2 pieces of wood together. But before I do that, I get to do my favorite thing, which is smear the glue all over one side of the wood. I'm sorry, it's the little things in life that make me happy. So is taking off a rubber glove. Alright, so we'll take the 2 pieces of wood and we'll put them together. And then I'll take my clamps and clamp it all together. The reason why I have to do that is usually these discs of wood aren't very straight. They're kind of warped a little bit. So when I clamp them together, it makes them straight. Okay, so what we have to do now is wait for this to dry. Ooh, whoa. Let's make that a little more sturdy there. Okay. Whew. Now that it's dry, we'll remove the clamps. And what we'll have to do is we'll have to clean that side up. Real nice, just like that. I don't like that. That's the side we'll use. All right, let's continue. Now we'll take our aluminum foil, 2 pieces of wire, and our super glue and baking soda mixture. Now normally what I would do is I would use wooden eggs and embed the wire into the wood, but these fish are going to have to be really light because there's only going to be that thin wire holding them up in the air. So I'll make 2 halves of aluminum foil, and then I will take the wire and I will make a small tang by bending the wire into sort of a T shape. This will keep the sculpture from slipping around after I glue it together. So I'll set that there. I'll take the baking soda and the super glue and attach it to one side. After I build up a few layers of super glue and baking soda, I'll take the other half and sandwich it together. Then I'll take some of this tape and secure all of the aluminum foil so it doesn't unravel. I thought I was getting aluminum foil tape, but really this was just air duct tape. It wasn't very good, but it did okay, and it is oven safe. And there's the first one. And to save time and boredom, there's the second one. Now we'll take some Epoxyy Sculpt, mix it together, and put it around the base of the wire, just to give it a little bit of extra security. I didn't want to use too much because I'm still trying to make sure that we don't make these things too heavy. Now let's get our clay conditioned. Look how much that stuff has gone up. It used to be like $11 a package. Now it's like 20. What do they think I am, a famous rich artist or something? Which I am most definitely not. So I'll cut off the end of that clay, and then I'll cut out 2 equal sections of clay so that they're both exactly the same size, like this. Okay, we'll set that there and we'll flatten it out with the rolling. Dude, you need to set your autofocus or something. You need to hire a new cameraman. Oh, cool. Look at that. Oh, okay, focus. No, really focus. Move your hand so it stops going in and out of focus like that, dude. All right. Now that I've gotten it all flattened out, I'll take my round cookie cutter and I have no idea why I put that piece of wood there. It doesn't make any difference. It's all even anyway. Just goes to show you that I really have no clue what I'm doing. Anyway, there's the first one, and to save time and boredom, there's the second one. Now I'm going to cut a wedge so it'll go over the fish armature easier, or just an excuse to make a Pac-Man. Actually, what I was really hoping to do was to be able to put the clay over the armature and not have a big old hunk of clay that I had to cut off at the end. But in reality, I didn't have enough, so I had to cut another piece to put on the bottom. Just another example that I really have no clue what I'm doing. But hey, I try. So what we'll do now is we'll try to block out the basic shape of the fish, which is kind of like a teardrop. Then I'll take my trusty rake tool and rake down all the high spots and make it nice and even. Thought it was a little shallow at the tail end here, and I needed a little more definition for the taper of the tail, so I added a little bit more. And once again, to save time and boredom, I've made 2. Okay, so before we go any further, we have to make the eyes. So I'm going to take these cabochon halves and embed them into some pieces of clay that I rolled out. This will keep them nice and secure so they won't move while I'm painting them. And I'm going to prove it to you right now. Ooh, better than super glue. Now it's very important before you paint the backside of the cabochons, you need to clean them really good with some rubbing alcohol so it's nice and clean. Now with the cabochons clean and secure, we can go ahead and paint the back of them without any trouble. Sometimes it takes about 2 or 3 coats. Now it's just a matter of taking your X-Acto knife and scraping out the shape of a pupil. And you can make any shape or size pupil you'd like. You could do like a cat eye or a dragon eye. It all depends on how much paint you scrape off of the back. And there you are, ready for the next step. Now I'll take black paint and paint the entire back of the cabochon, that way no light or clay shows through from the back side. And after the paint dries, you can clean off the residue and you have a pretty nice looking eye, good for looking and seeing just about anything you'd like to. In order for me to make it a little bit easier, I'm going to take this glass tube that is exactly the same size as the cabochon and then mark the eyes on the fish body. This way the size of the eyes is consistent and I don't have to worry about them being, the wrong shape or the wrong size. And then I just carve out a little area for the eye to go into. Now we'll smooth it all out and make it nice and flat. Then we do the other side. Everything is always done in 2s. Or in our case today, 4, because actually we're making 2 fish. Now we'll add the eyes. Making sure they're nice and secure in there. There we go. Not too bad. Now before continuing with the eyelids, what I have to do is put a piece of clay around the eye and sort of lock it in, because you want to make sure that there's a smooth transition between the eyeglass and the fish body. Otherwise it could pop out. Has anyone else ever noticed that fish have this permanent look of terror on their face? Well, not our little girls. We're going to do something different. And how are we going to do that? Well, we'll start with the eyelids. See, our little fish are going to have a sultry, come-hither look to them. Like a I'm sexy and I know it kind of attitude. No, I'm not sexy, they are. I'm definitely not sexy. Since I made the lid too big, I'll have to scrape off the excess off the top of the eye. Now I'll continue to blend the lids into the top of the eye, just leaving kind of an impression of lid line on the top. And of course, to save time and boredom, I've made 2. Now let's give them a pair of sultry, pouty lips. I'm sorry, sweetie, I can only do 1 pair at a time, so you'll have to go over there and wait your turn, okay? So I'll start with the bottom lip, and then I'll add the top. Then I'll start the Cupid's bow by cutting out a notch in the top, and then adding a little tiny ball of clay right there to complete the Cupid's bow. Then all that's left to do is just blend the lips into the mouth, and here's where you have to slow down and create that clean lip line, and then you have a beautiful set of lips.
Hey, you forgot about me. Where's my pair of lips? I don't know, ask him.
Okay, Pearl, it's your turn, come on.
Oh, we look good, don't we?
Yes, you two look absolutely adorable, but we've still got a lot of work to do, so let's go ahead and give you some texture. And most important this time, not forget to do your gills. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to breathe, and that wouldn't be good. And that's a pair of good-looking gills, if I do say so myself. Now we have to make all the places for the fins to go. Very sorry, Pearl, but how about if we put the place where your little flipper fins go? Okay? Okay, sounds good. So now we have all the places for our fins to go and 2 beautiful pairs of lips for these 2 lovely ladies. Now, as promised, I am going to show you how I made some transparent fins. And I'll start out by making my templates in black cardstock. A little shallow on that first fin, so let's give it some more flair. Now we'll do the side fins. And then we'll cut them all out. Do a quick size check there, and there's all our templates. Now I'll take a white piece of paper and use my templates to trace out the fin. There we go. Now I'll take some aluminum foil and lay it on top of my foam pad, and then using my stylus etch into the aluminum foil. This will come in handy later. Now we'll take some wire and shape it into the shape of the tail to reinforce the liquid Sculpey that we'll be putting on in a few minutes. Now I'm going to take the wire and bend it into the same shape as the tail. Now this part isn't too difficult. Yay, that's one. Now we'll do the other one. What is difficult, however, is making sure that the wire lays completely flat when you put it on the aluminum foil. Yeah, just like that. Now here's where those etched lines come in handy. I'll take the liquid Sculpey and put them on the aluminum foil, and then using your fingers, taking the liquid Sculpey and fanning it out, keeping it as flat and thin as possible. Now you'll see why the wire has to be flat. We take the wire and put it on top of the liquid Sculpey, and then we add a little more to the edge and blend the wire into the liquid Sculpey. After that, we take it to the oven and bake it. Once baked, you can very carefully separate it from the aluminum foil, and there you have it, the beginnings of a transparent fin. But there's still some work that needs to be done, so we'll take our fin template and cut off all the flash. Then we'll cut off all the excess wire. It's starting to look pretty good. Now using the same technique as before, we will do the side fins. I'll have to make 4 of these. But to save time and boredom, I will only show you how I made 2. As before, we'll lay out the aluminum foil, etch the outline with the stylus, and then laying out the liquid Sculpey. Using our fingers to spread them out nice and even, flaring out the ends, taking the wire and embedding it into the liquid Sculpey, checking out the size there, then covering the wire with some more liquid Sculpey, take them off to be baked, and then slowly and very carefully removing them from the aluminum foil. Now we'll take the scissors and we'll cut off the flash and the extra wire on the ends. Little trim here and there, and you end up with a pretty good looking transparent fin. However, we can't stop there. It still needs a little bit more texture and rough edges on both sides of the fin, so we'll take some extra liquid Sculpey and we'll put it on the edge. Also, that serves to cover up the wire that you can see through. Then we'll heat it up with the heat gun, turn it over, add some more to the other side, cure it with the heat gun again. Now we'll do the same thing to the tail fin. If you're wondering why I'm curing the liquid Sculpey with the heat gun instead of putting it in the oven, for some reason the liquid Sculpey, if you bake it a second time in the oven, it will disintegrate. I have no idea why, but it will not disintegrate if you use the heat gun, so this is the safest and easiest way to do it. Now you have a completed set of transparent fins. Whew, now that that's done, let's give our ladies some lovely, long, luscious eyelashes. Being a guy, I have absolutely no idea or nothing about eyelashes, so I'm just going to use my references and do the best I can. Okay, Pearl, you ready for your eyelashes?
Yes, just make sure you do them right, okay? I want to look really pretty.
I promise to do my best. And this is why I've decided to use cause clay for the eyelashes, because after they're baked, they'll be a little bit pliable and they won't break off. Knowing me, I will break them off. There. That looks just about right. And yes, once again, to save time and boredom, I've done 2.
Hooray, we look so cute!
Whoa, wait a minute. Before we go to the oven, I forgot one thing. We still have to do your dorsal fin. What I have to do is before they go into the oven, along with the holes that I made for the other fins, I have to make a trench for the dorsal fins. Showing another example that I have no clue what I'm doing. So what I'll do is I'll line it up here and then stick it into the top, line it up again, and then commence in making a trench. After it's baked, the dorsal fin should fit right in there, and then I can blend it in with clay after it's done. All right. Okay, ladies, are you ready to go into the oven?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, but first, we must pray for no cracks. We beseech the polymer clay gods for an uncracked fish.
Hey, it's hot in here. Let's out.
Okay, it's time to come out now. Now we'll take some glue and we'll attach all the fins to their body. And I am not going to save time and boredom on this because I worked hard on these fins and I'm going to show every single one being attached. And I think these lovely little ladies are looking more beautiful as we continue on. Now that all the fins are attached, we'll take some polymer clay and blend the fins into their little fish bodies. And I have to say, the Super Sculpey polymer clay blends so well into the cured liquid Sculpey. In fact, I'm thinking about maybe coating my armatures with the liquid Sculpey before I put the polymer clay on because it blends and sticks to it so well. Usually with wire and aluminum foil, the Super Sculpey doesn't stick to it too well, so I may be changing the way I do things in the future because of this. I mentioned earlier in the video where inspiration comes from. These fish are based on the Disney cartoon Fantasia, the Nutcracker Suite. And they had these fish with huge fins doing sort of like a fish ballet. It's a beautiful piece of work. If you ever get a chance to watch it, you definitely won't regret it. And here's the main reason why I wanted to make the fins out of liquid Sculpey, because I can literally take each fin and pose it exactly the way I want it. And working with polymer clay, that's one of the more difficult things, is you have to have pretty much everything set in stone, because once it's baked, it's not malleable anymore. So doing it this way gives you a little more design freedom, and I love that. And to not save time or boredom, I'm going to show you how I blend in Jade's fins. I bet you're wondering how I know which one is Jade and which one is Pearl. Well, I'll tell you. Pearl's tail goes up and Jade's tail goes down. And that's how I can tell the difference between the two. Looks like it's about time to start painting, and Pearl gets her pearly white coat of paint. And as you can see, it's going to take a few coats to do that. A lot of people ask me why I don't prime my pieces, and mainly that's because if I use primer, I'm afraid that it's going to take away some of the texture, so I just go ahead and do coat after coat after coat of paint. Now we'll give her eyelids a lovely shade of pink eyeshadow. Then we'll paint her beautiful eyelashes black and give her some black eyeliner. She is just looking absolutely adorable.
Why, thank you.
Now we'll give those beautiful lips a lovely shade of pink. Oh, looks like it's Jade's turn to be painted now. And we'll give Jade a lovely shade of, well, jade. And it was really nice because the jade seemed to cover a little bit better and I didn't have to do as many coats as Pearl. Now we'll do her eyeliner and her luscious eyelashes with some black paint. I really like the way those eyelashes turned out. Not too bad. Now she wouldn't be Jade without some beautiful green eyeshadow. Maybe she's from the 70s. Now we'll give her some nice shiny pink lips. Adorable. The issue I have now is the wire is too short, so I have to cut these off and make some longer ones. Which is incredibly dangerous at this point in the sculpture because I'm afraid when I drill the hole in, the drill bit's going to catch and spin the fish in my fingers and destroy all the work I just did. And luckily, it didn't. Okay, ladies, we're going to have to set you aside for a few minutes while we make you a place to splash and swim around in. I'll start by painting the surface black. Now we'll make the splashes, and we're going to be using these plastic water bottles, this section right here. We'll start by cutting off the top. Whoops, bye. Then we'll cut off this section right here. And when you turn it upside down, it creates the right shape for the beginning of a splash. I know there's 3 here, but I'm going to be making 4. Now at the top, what we'll do is we'll take the scissors and cut out a splash shape. And what we'll be doing is changing this into this, using this. While holding the plastic from the bottom, you take the heat gun and just barely touch the plastic with the heat until it looks something like this. All right. Then we'll do a few more, letting the heat gun shape the plastic. And here's the 4. And the reason why I'm making 4 is because out of the 4, I'm going to pick the best 2. The ones with the most character, the ones that look the most realistic. By using the UV resin to make the splashes, you have a little bit of control, but you don't have complete control. It just flows where it flows, and then I hit it with the UV light, and then it freezes it, and you hope you end up with something that looks like a splash. Now you can take a tiny applicator like this and give it a little more detail, a little more character, and although it was difficult, it does end up looking a little bit like a splash. Now we'll take the splashes and we'll put them in some water and finish the cure inside the UV resin curing unit. That way they won't be sticky. Now we'll take some smaller wire and make some drips and droplets. And if I could make a suggestion to those who want to start using UV resin, make sure you get the biggest UV resin light you can get. The bigger the better, because believe it or not, it takes a lot of power to cure that resin. So we've got our drips and drops, and we also have our cured splashes made. Now we have to put everything together. I'll start by putting a whole bunch of UV resin in the middle of the splash to connect everything together, add some water to it, and then re-cure it so that it doesn't get sticky. Now I'll pull out these pieces of wire that I used to keep the UV resin from getting inside. Now I'll cover the whole surface in UV resin to resemble sort of a pond standing water, so to speak. I'll have to do it in sections because you want to make sure that you cure the resin so it doesn't run over the sides. Now I'm going to do my best to cover it with some water so I can re-cure it again, which was kind of tricky because I didn't want the water to get all over the wood part of the base. I wish we didn't have to do this part. I wish the UV light would just cure it and make it hard and solid, but unfortunately it doesn't. That turned out quite satisfactory. Now I'll take all our drips and drops that we made earlier and attach them to the bottom of the fish, as though the water is sort of clinging to their bodies as they jump out of the water. It's really hard to get the camera angle, the drips and drops, and the UV light in the same place. I tell you, it was tricky. Hopefully you guys can see it okay. Now we'll mount the ladies next to their respective splashes. Now after that, we will take all of our drips and drops and attach them to the bottom of the initial splash, and then we'll add some drips and drops around the trajectory of the fish's jump as though the water is following them as they leap out of the water. And with that, it looks like these little ladies are ready to make a big splash in their little pond. Well everyone, if you've made it this far, you are a rock star and you can make a big splash in my pond anytime. And if you enjoyed this video and you think I deserve it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more sculptures like this, please consider subscribing. And most of all, a big shout out and thank you to all of my subscribers, and there's been a lot of you lately. We're up to over 7,000 subscribers. I am totally blown away, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Everybody take care, and we'll see you next time.